here with Doc Coyle from Bad Wolves. This is Pedro from ANP Reacts. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for doing this. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I barely slept last night, so I'm a little slow to say certain words. Don't blame me.
I saw a picture you posted with Mr. Belding.
Yeah, Dennis Haskins is your real name. Yeah, he's I see him all the time. Like, he goes out to rock shows and he's doing, he's just kind of, a lot of people in our community know him, and he just seems like a nice guy. And I hate bothering people, especially famous people. My girlfriend's like, she like literally introduced us, and we just started talking. I was telling him about my podcast, and he actually said he might do my show, so we'll see. That'd be fun.
Oh, that's super cool. I mean, you have really cool guests, and it would be kind of nice to have somebody who's not necessarily a musician.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do more of that. If you'll notice in my show, I actually have quite a bit of people on the music industry side. I've had a booking agent on, artist managers, people on the press side of things, because I'm really fascinated by that. I've also had a sports journalist on the show, a music writer. I've done political talk, so I would actually be pretty bored if it was just musicians talking about music.
That sounds good. Sounds good. I'm going to be looking forward to that because I was a big fan of Saved by the Bell when I was a kid.
Well, listen, it's not in the bank yet, but I'm gonna push for it.
All right. I hope you get it done. The first question I want to get started with is the 7 million view question, because I think it's close to 7 million views by now.
Oh, it's over. It's probably like 7.2, 7.3 by now.
It's crazy. So when I say to you, Zombie has surpassed the 7 million mark and counting, like what does go through your mind when you hear that?
I mean, honestly, at this point, it's like Monopoly money. It's like, I mean, here's the truth. I mean, it's a hit song. I've never had a hit song. I don't really know what this is like at all. So and I think all of the outpouring at the beginning when the song first came out, even way before the video came out, was completely overwhelming. And then since the video came out, everything has kind of almost doubled and tripled in terms of its impact and the size of what's going on. And it's beyond the scope we had for what we thought was going to happen. Not that you gotta remember, a lot of this stuff happened way quicker than we thought. We have a record coming out. We just announced today. It's coming out May 18th. And more than likely, Zombie was going to be, like a later single, maybe our second single. And then this whole situation happened with Dolores, where she was listening to a song, she passed away, and everyone thought it was, a good idea to put it out right away and hopefully pay tribute. It's a very bittersweet scenario, where, this wonderful, talented, amazing person passed away, and we're kind of connected to that story. And yet it's also kind of creating this kind of a positive benefit to the exposure to our band, so there's a lot of conflicting elements there,
The thing that I first thought, like the first time I heard the song, the thing that really intrigued me, and the thing that not only intrigued me, but that really got me wondering is, of all the cover songs that you guys could pick, why Zombie? Why did you guys decide to go with that song for a cover song for the album?
Well, this is a brainchild of our singer, Tommy, that he had, even before I joined the band. So it was something he had kind of already worked out. Because he was in another band called Westfield Massacre, and they did a cover of the song Heart-Shaped Box by Nirvana. And it had a very similar vibe. He worked on it with another artist, producer, this guy, Philip Nosland, and they kind of developed this one too. So it was something that was kind of brought to the band. And everything with the band has evolved. Where it's John Berkland, formerly of Devil Driver, the drummer. He's the one who started the band, and it went through a lot of different versions of it, of what the kind of band was, and it's still evolving. I joined the band, and then we signed our record deal, and then that kind of allowed us to think, hey, maybe we can have this kind of song on the record. Maybe we can have this kind of song, and so the vision of what the band is going to be has constantly kind of moved into what you guys will hear when you hear the final record.
One of the cool things about the cover is that you guys just to me, it's not like you just decided, okay, let's just do the cover and that's it. You guys actually changed a few of the lyrics to really bring it more to life into what modern day society is now and things that we're dealing with. Was that something that you guys really want to put, like, do a cover, but kind of put your fingerprints on it as well?
I think you have to. I mean, I like I said, I can't take credit for that. It's all Tommy. And to me, already from an arrangement standpoint, kind of a vocal timbre standpoint, and just the way the song hits, it's already a reimagination. But you have to make these things your own. And I know some people don't like it because of the political connotation to what was going on, what she was specifically talking about with her country's history, and I totally understand that. But I think many of these songs, while specific, are also poetry, and they're symbolic and they're metaphorical. A lot of those things can be, they can be interpreted. You can have a song that's written 200-300 years ago, and then people hear it now, and they're going to have a completely different context for it. So art in that way is malleable, and it definitely does make it about now, because the truth is, whether if you were to not talk about the specifics what the song is about, but just about unwarranted violence and war and conflict, these are things we're still dealing with. So I think
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying these are things we're still dealing with, and Tommy changing that lyric makes that ever present. Is that perhaps maybe these things are cyclical.
It's funny you say that, because I watched the video for the first time with my son yesterday. We pre-recorded. We're going to post it on the channel tomorrow. And one of the things that I mentioned to him when we were watching the video, because he's never watched the original video or heard even the original song, I said to him is that it's incredible how a song that was recorded over 20 years ago, lyric-wise, it's still impactful today. So it doesn't only speak for the person who wrote the song, but I think it also talks about us as a society and as humanity. Don't you think so? Like, we haven't really evolved that much over the last 20 years. We're still making the same mistakes that were done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's that, but then I think you have to understand how connected this song is to Dolores O'Riordan and the fact that she passed away. I mean, when we were shooting the video, I purposefully put myself in the mindset of thinking about her. And almost every take, I would get emotional, very emotional, because I wanted to connect to that sadness and that loss. And in a sense, it almost redefines, some of those lyrics where it's, yes, it had this political connotation, and, in a very specific way. And now I think, if you take that and juxtapose it with the music video, it's difficult not to listen to the song and think about her, and that, so for me, it's kind of become more about that. And it's just, listen, the success of the song ultimately is a credit to her and the Cranberries. I mean, they wrote a timeless song that, we just happen to have the ability to update and make our own. And it's connecting to people in a completely different way. And I think listen, I'm a huge fan of cover bands. I have, me and Tommy, the singer, we had a cover band called Rebel Noise Group, and we did a lot of 90s stuff. And this stuff we grew up on. And I love that. I love, like, the Metallica, the Metallica cover albums are some of my favorite stuff from that band, and because they make it their own. Like they take covers and make them sound like Metallica songs. Mm-hmm. So that, how, ultimately it's about the source material, though. And the source material is timeless on its own. With or without us, that was going to be timeless, but people are connecting to it. I think the political thing is there, but I think it primarily has to do with this person that was so incredibly talented and affected so many people's lives, and people feel they are, the emotion of that moment is palpable. I think when you listen to the song, specifically when you watch the music video.
Did you guys ever, I know she was supposed to sing on the song with you guys originally. Did you guys ever thought now before releasing the song to add the original vocals to the song, or that was never on the table since she wasn't able to actually put on her own vocals?
The truth is we don't even know what she was going to do as far as where she was going to sit, if she was going to take a verse or harmonize or do the bridge. That was kind of yet to be determined. And to be truthful, I was kind of disconnected from that process, so I can't really speak on it.
All right, fair enough. Now let's talk about the band in general. You said that the drummer was the guy behind putting everything together. How did the idea for the project came about? At what point did you came into the picture?
Well, he started the band with this other guitar player, Max Karen, who's no longer in the band. And there was just the two of them writing material pretty much, I guess, even before he left Devil Driver. So actually the song Learn to Live, John wrote and was supposed to be a song for the next Devil Driver record. And it's funny because it sounds nothing like Devil Driver, obviously. But he was already thinking ahead. And John is really a student of music and probably one of the hardest working people I've ever seen. And he essentially, what he did was he saw that the heavy music world was changing. You know, in the kind of world we come from, my band, God Forbid, his band, Devil Driver, that style, we kind of like hit a wall, you know, in terms of where that genre could kind of take us creatively. And I think we both ran into that. And he linked up with this other guy, and they just really started pushing the boundaries. I think what was going on is very modern, but it also has this kind of groove thing that, you know, is kind of classic. You know, like a lot of people have mentioned that they feel like some of it sounds like Pantera. You know, so it's like this kind of odd blend of old school and new school. You know, so pretty much when I came into the band, the record was almost done. Subsequently, the band ended up writing about 5 or 6 more songs after that. But they had a record, and it was pretty much, it was John and Tommy and Chris were in the band, and Max exited, and they needed another guitar player. That's pretty much when I came in, you know. And this is before we had a record deal. It was more like, hey, we're trying to get this going. And because Tommy's voice really brought it all together. And also, like, the arrangements of the songs. So the songs were like 5-6 minute, you know, prog epics, you know. And Tommy, we call him Edward Scissorhands, because he comes in there and he cuts up the songs and, you know, turns them into kind of more like pop format, you know. And because Tommy, great thing about him is, although he's such a talented singer, he thinks more like he's like an avatar for the regular Joe, you know. So he can kind of understand how this is going to relate to just normal people and take these kind of crazy technical metal songs and put it in a format that people can understand it and make it catchy. So he has a really unique talent with that. And me, like I said, I'm kind of coming in and I'm trying to be like a fly on the wall and not kind of screw up their process that they've already kind of mastered. But then last few songs that all made the record, thankfully, I got to kind of be there, give my input, work on some vocal stuff with Tommy. I got to do a few guitar solos. So I kind of got involved more at the end, and kind of what the album evolved into is a lot more in line with like my preferences, as far as, because I've been playing more rock music than metal before this. I have another band called Vegas Nerve, and I've played with some different people. So this is like the heaviest thing I've done since God Forbid. So it's like I had to like get my chops back up, and stylistically, it's a whole new style of guitar playing from a rhythm standpoint, and so it's been really great for me. I love expanding myself and learning new things. And also, I forgot to mention our bass player Kyle. It's a really funny story how he joined the band. We were shooting the video for Learn to Live, and he just happened to be calling me. He was in the band Vimic at the time, and he's like, "Yeah, but, you know, Vimic isn't doing anything. I'm just, you know, anyone need a bass player for anything?" I'm like, "We're shooting a music video. We need a bass player today." And he came down there and was in the video, and he had just heard the song that day and pretty much joined the band then. So that's when it became the five guys. Pretty much from that point, from the time we shot that video, that's when things pretty much took off like a rocket from that point.
I find interesting that you mentioned earlier on Pantera, because I found that Learn to Live was the first song that I heard. Obviously, that was the first single that came out, then Toast to the Ghost. I find both of them, the guitar playing in those two songs, super groovy.
Yeah.
And is that something that you guys really consciously wanted to go into a more groovier style, not just do a song that's either super heavy, because heaviness or by heaviness sake is not necessarily a good thing, you know?
Well, I think, listen, the pulse, you know, that's what I vibe with. You know, like I don't know if it's I'm half black, you know, for everybody out there. The brothers got a groove, you know what I'm saying? Got to get the head nod going, you know. And you know, I think well, here's a big important thing. John took lessons with a really prominent drummer named Dave Elitch, who's played with like Mars Volta and Killer Be Killed, really accomplished guy. And John completely relearned how to play drums, you know, and you know, Devil Driver was really fast and very like kind of, you know, very on the beat, and he had to learn how to like lay back and really change his technique. And so I think a lot of that groove, you know, really stems from John wanting to evolve as a player, you know, and I love it. You know, that's the stuff that's always going to work with me. And John, you know, he's just you know, people don't realize how much stuff he wrote for Devil Driver, and he's just a really talented guy, and he sees things from really great angles, and he's an experimenter. Like, he wants to try something 20 different ways until he finds the one thing, you know, and it's really, you know, I think the creative process, you know, you're there with like the block of ice, and you just kind of got to keep chipping away until it's a beautiful sculpture, you know, and it's sometimes it comes easy, but usually it's a lot of work went into this stuff. You know, these guys, that's what I love about this band. Everyone is a workaholic. They're all maniacs.
When you came in, you said you guys didn't have a deal yet. You were working on the album. So when you guys approached, did you guys approach 11-7 Music, or they approached you guys? How did that relationship started?
So essentially, all that started when the video dropped. You know, another label actually turned a pretty prominent label, I'm not going to mention who it is, turned the band down before the video had come out. And we weren't like too discouraged, but it was a little, you know, it's an ego hit, you know, if someone turned you down. But essentially that video hit, and it was just, I don't know, the right song at the right time. And it blew up on YouTube real quick. And pretty much when that came out, that's when we launched. We had just changed the band name too. The band was called Eye of Tongues. And then Tommy was like, nah, we got to change the name. You know, because I felt like, I think in his, like I said, Tommy has those instincts of like, no, this is not going to connect to the regular Joe. And so then they changed the name. So like right before the video came out, it was like, we're Bad Wolves. And the video just hit. And so from that point, it was like one label and then another label and another label. And essentially Tommy was working for Five Finger Death Punch, and Zoltan heard it and was like, and he immediately became interested in the band and managing the band. And they have relationships, and they work with 11-7. So that's really how that relationship was forged. And it's a game changer because they're basically a major label, you know, with their resources, and their staff is incredible, and especially their connections with radio in America, and having a really great mastery of global press. You know, they can really make things happen all over the globe in a really fast way. So it's, you know, I mean, what's going on now is, you know, beyond what we expected, but we felt very confident about our choice to go with them over some of the other offers.
I gotta say, you guys have had a huge response on Octane. I listen to Octane. I listen to Liquid Metal a lot, and every time you guys dropped a single, boom, it was on Octane, was hitting their countdown. Incredible, the response, not just from, I mean, that only happens because obviously the viewers and the listeners are requesting your music. So that must have felt good, because every time you guys putting out a single, you guys were hitting their big guns and making the top.
We have a lot of allies over there. Jose Mangan is, you know, I'm from New Jersey. That's where, you know, he was living. He was an East Coast guy. Well, he's from Arizona, but he, you know, that's where he got his kind of start in his career. And he is a massive booster of the band. And obviously he was kind of pushing the band on the Liquid Metal side of things. But even he told us, he's like, dude, I'm not doing you no favor. Like, I check your sales. He's like, you guys, like, and we're a band. Like I said, we played one show. We were not touring. We didn't have nothing out. And we're like, we were making a bigger impact than many of the bands who were like full-time bands. So he was a big booster. Shannon Guns over there is a big help. Kayla Riley. We have a lot of, thankfully, a lot of people there. But I think ultimately, people aren't going to do that many favors if there's no impact, Because trust me, I've had other bands that I was in. I was like, "Hey, Jose, can you play this on the air?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll play it." And then he kind of never got around to it because maybe it just wasn't the right thing. So it's like, it's not about a favor. It's just it fits the market and people reacted, and you can kind of see that through what's happening throughout the internet, because it's Zombie's doing great on terrestrial radio, but that's a slow process because you have to get added kind of a few stations at a time, and that's a really like glacial process, and I'm sure it's going to keep growing there. But you can see just the way with the YouTube and the iTunes and the Spotify, like that's where the internet is moving like that. Boom, boom, boom. People are sharing it, they're showing their friend. It's and we can see it. That's what's kind of amazing about this social media era, is like you're completely connected to the people who are passionate about what you're doing.
I think it also helps the fact that you guys are super approachable on social media, especially yourself. So is that a conscious thing on your part, that or is that part of your personality? You're that kind of guy that you're out there.
No, I had to learn how to do this because you have to remember, I started doing music in the late 90s before, it was like chat room,
or Twitter,
before everything. And the industry kind of changed, and by the time there were all these expectations for bands to say, "Hey, you guys got to be on Twitter, you got to be on Facebook," it felt like extra work, because we had you just didn't have to do those things. Like you do some interviews, maybe go to a radio station, whatever. But your days were more concentrated around the music itself, and I think it was a tough pill to swallow. Because so many bands who had grown up, like that next wave of bands like Suicide Silence, In This Moment, a lot of those bands, Job for a Cowboy, came along with the MySpace movement, right? So they kind of capitalized off this new wave where we were like always playing catch up. And then when God Forbid was winding down, that's when I started writing. I started doing my podcast, and I became more of like, all right, I have access to these people that kind of care about what I do. It's not that many people, right? It's a few thousand people. But if I can galvanize enough people around my projects, then I can kind of have my own voice. And I started to notice, I'd put an article up, and I would see, and I could go on my website and see, oh, it got this many views on Facebook, got this many. You see, okay, people, I had this access to these people, so I realized I had to be in control of that. And I did a Kickstarter campaign with my other band, Vegas Nerve, and, I had to reach out to people. Like, I had to, be like a salesman. Like, hey, guys, I'm doing a thing. Check it out, right? And I realized, like, wow, this is the new version of, like, you're campaigning in a way, and you have to, for them to care about what you're doing, you have to give them something they like. And you have to be connective and give them that personal that personal touch. That's all it is. And everyone here understands. Like Tommy is incredible at social media, and he's a people person, and everyone understands. Like, this is the new game. Like, this is how Trump became president, because he understood social media, right? Whether you like him or not, he understands that. Yeah. No. I'm just saying, like, I'm not even going to go into that. But what I'm saying is that this is the era we're in. Is if you can master social media, then you can take whatever it is, your job or your profession or your passion, and you can mobilize people. So it's a bit like that's half of my day. I feel like is social media.
I was going to say, from what I see, you do spend quite a bit of time on social media, connecting with fans, but also sharing your own views and your own opinions about whatever is happening in the world, either be gun control or elections or fake news. And to be honest with you, to me, I find that refreshing, because obviously I enjoy listening to the music, but at the same time, like you said, I want to connect to the people that make the music, because I can listen to any record I want. I can listen to anything, but I think the music carries a little bit more weight when you actually connect with the people that are making that music.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, oh, sorry, let me cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, like, I find that the presence, not every band is doing like what you guys are doing, but I really find that it does make a difference when I see a band retweeting somebody or liking a comment. I mean, from a fan's perspective, it almost feels like your passion for your work is acknowledged. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, the thing is, my life changed a lot when I started writing. You know, and when you're a writer, and the type of writer I was, which is essentially trying to communicate something that you think deeply about on the subject, like really having to sit down and put your thoughts down and understand why you think something, and then back that up with evidence. And the truth is, most people don't think deeply on a lot of these subjects. They kind of, what they do is they consume media, right? A newspaper, a radio show, a podcast, whatever, television, and then they kind of appropriate other people's opinions for themselves. You know, like, oh, such and such said on TV this, and I kind of agree with him, so I'll just kind of assume his way. So I don't want to borrow anyone else's opinions. I want to think deeply on something and form my own. And because of that, I feel like I have something relevant to say. And more importantly, I try not to say something if it's already predominantly out there, right? I'm only going to come out about a subject and making a take on something or opinion if I feel like that opinion is not being represented. And so this needs to be said because no one's saying it. And what I'm trying to do is walk this tightrope of being honest about where I'm coming from, but also inclusive and not trying to denigrate anyone, because I truly believe the biggest issue we have is our discourse and polarization, and people really don't like each other in these times. They don't like people that disagree with them, and I think that's terrible. Like, I think you should be able to disagree with someone and be friends and family, and it's fine. Like, you're not going to agree with people on everything. That's okay. You know, I believe.
You find also that in this world that we live in, people live in a bubble where they surround themselves with only people that share the same opinions as they do.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, I hear people talk about it. There's this article right now about like how Trump supporters and conservatives can't get dates because if people find out what they believe, they won't go on a date with them. And listen, to a certain point, that's part of that's compatibility. But I also feel like, and this is so when Trump won the election, I wrote an article called Transmissions from the Bubble, right? And so this is being in, and a lot of my writing has to do with self-examination, right? I can't necessarily talk about the world at large, but I can certainly talk about my own shortcomings. And my shortcoming with regard to that was not seeing it coming. And so many of the quote unquote smart people didn't see it coming. And the question is, all right, so if I made that mistake and many other people who are smarter than you made that mistake, that means we have to do our own evolution, right? And learning and changing to say, you know what? I may not like the outcome, but I at least want to be able to see it coming around the corner, right? You know, so I made sure I diversified who I followed on Twitter. You know, I diversified. Hey, like I listen to podcasts of people I don't necessarily like that actually enrages me sometimes, but because I want to actually hear their perspective, because it's like you're building up a tolerance. The thing is, if you never hear anything you disagree with, you have no tolerance for it. So you hear it and you're like, you can't believe it. You're like, oh my God, I can't, because you never hear it. But like, yo, it's like, that's why I don't block people on Facebook. I don't, you know, I see things from friends and family I completely think are ridiculous, but I'm like, you know, I need to know this. I need to know this is out there because it gives me a better, accurate representation of the way the world really is and what people really think. That's just remember about the social media. People are opening up their mind. The thing is, people always felt these ways. We just never knew about it.
I 100% agree with you. I think the internet, in a way, is given a voice to the voiceless almost. Like, you know, people were thinking these things at home, maybe saying it to their relatives or whatever, but it was kind of staying in that very close environment. And with the internet now and social media, everybody has an opinion. And not only they have an opinion, they want to make sure everybody knows what their opinion is the exact moment that they have that opinion, you know, with no filter.
Yeah, I mean, I if I were to criticize, this is why I pretty much only use Facebook for to like let people know what I'm doing professionally. I don't really engage in it in a personal matter anymore, is because I think it's primarily a conduit for people either to complain or to gloat, right? So it's like, hey, look, I'm on vacation over here with my wife and our life is perfect, or I just bought this car, or it's I got cut off in traffic. I'm sick of this politician did XYZ. This celebrity said this stupid thing. And it's just like, if you think about that, it's like we probably need, like, complaining is somewhat important, right? People need to like get things off their chest. But we've kind of decided it's okay to do that publicly in a way that's, probably not necessary. Like, I feel like we need to find, like, we're all learning how this stuff works and how it affects us. So we're the guinea pigs. We're the ones that we're going to get screwed up and lose our minds on it. And the next generation is going to realize how idiotic we were and probably fix it and do a lot better with it because they understand it. And they will have grown up knowing that.
I want to ask you a question about something else, but before I do, I want to put in a plug for you. The album comes out May 18th. For those that are unaware,
just announced today. The album's called Disobey. Comes out May 18th, and it's a banger.
I honestly, based on the 3 singles, I obviously haven't heard the album, but based on the 3 singles, I'm going to pick it up the moment it comes out. So I recommend everybody to do the same thing. And this is why I wanted to put this plug in here, because I wanted to make sure that it doesn't get lost in the struggle. We need to remind people the album comes out May 18th.
Yeah, well, so there's a few things that are going to happen. I think in like 2 weeks, they're going to put up the pre-order, and it's going to be like a pledge campaign. So you're going to be able to get all kinds of different packages of vinyl and stuff with T-shirts and signed things and guitar lessons, and there's all that kind of stuff is going to go up. So it's going to be a mini kind of campaign for that. And then there's also going to be a series of mini EPs released on Spotify before the album comes out. So people are actually going to be able to hear quite a bit of the album before it actually even comes out. So you're going to be able to test drive it. And I'm as objective as anyone, I think, in this, and that I think this album is going to make a big impact because it crosses, it checks a lot of boxes that I don't think many bands are doing. Where I think so many bands are kind of like, all right, we are radio rock band, or we're power metal band, or we're proggy gent, and I think we cover a cross section that I haven't really seen covered in quite some time.
I think you're going in the right direction. I've never been a big fan of labels, especially when it comes to music. I think you just got to let your freedom dictate where you're going to go with your art. And I've never been a big fan of people who just listen to one genre or just listen to this kind of metal or this kind of rock, because I think you're limiting your possibilities. You're limiting yourself to learning something new and discovering something that you may like. You know what I mean? And that's something I have a 13-year-old. I always try to make that clear to him, that don't follow everybody else. Make your own mind. Music is music, and feel free to listen to anything that moves you. I think that's the important key, to move you.
Yeah. Well, the key is to have no guilty pleasures. Like, don't be guilty about liking something. It's all like, it's okay. You can have filet mignon one night and McDonald's the next night, and the two don't have to cancel each other out. Like, we know the filet mignon is better, but it's okay to have McDonald's sometimes, right? So if you like, the Lady Gaga song, but you're like, your favorite band's Cannibal Corpse, that's okay. But I think, the metal community, it's very tribal and it's very conservative. And when I say conservative, I just mean they want kind of a fixed idea, and it's very reverential of the past. So there's a lot of focus put on things that have been around for a long time, and they don't want it to change too much, right? And I'm very familiar with that world. I'm very familiar with that culture, but it's not me. I'm fascinated with the history of this culture and this style of music, but unless it evolves, unless it grows, it will die.
So don't you find that to be a little bit anti-metal as well. Metal is supposed to be very inclusive in terms of allowing everybody who likes that music to be in.
It's inclusive once you're in, but once you're in it, then it's like, oh, yeah, you're one of us. But I've literally seen people be almost upset that the band has a #1 single because they don't want everyone to get their thing. They're like, this is our thing. We don't want to share this with the rest of the mainstream world. They see it as a counter to the pop world, which it is. Metal's always going to be a reaction to pop music, but there's a severe hypocrisy there because that also doesn't honor the history. And the history is metal at one point was the most popular music in the world. It was Bon Jovi. It was Ozzy. It was Def Leppard. It was Whitesnake. It was Poison. And I know that wasn't the most true metal, but it had guitars. It had guitar solos. It had big hair. And guess what? The Metallicas played with those bands. The Scorpions, Van Halen's Pantera opened for those bands. And Skid Row's we're all connected to that. So why was it okay for it to be big then? And then basically what happened with the new metal was the last time we had really, really huge metal bands that sold millions of records. And there was a big backlash amongst the real metal community. Well, they're not really, we don't like that. And even though a lot of those bands are still killing it to this day, I think that created a big divide in the community where it's here's the elitist metal world where we like Slayer and Emperor and, Dying Fetus. And then here's Disturbed and here's, Papa Roach. And we don't like that. That's for them and this is for us. And it kind of drew this line in the sand. And I'm just dude, I like everything. If it's good, it's good. I was listening to Meshuggah and At the Gates in 1 second, and I'd put on Linkin Park the next, and I didn't really see what the problem was.
It's funny you say that because I've had that experience. I've seen people commented on some of our videos negatively towards my kid because he's wearing an Avenged Sevenfold shirt. So because he's wearing an Avenged Sevenfold shirt, how can he understand Cannibal Corpse, or how can he like Correct Kangren because he's wearing an Avenged Sevenfold?
It's like criticizing a kid for wearing an Iron Maiden shirt in 1988. They are the Iron Maiden of their day. You know what I'm saying? What is not metal about that band? They have 8-minute long songs, minute and a half long guitar solos that are shredding your face off. They make heavy metal music and really interesting and weird heavy metal music. They have a damn song that sounds like Danny Elfman that's 7 minutes long. It's they have more in common with Dream Theater than they do with a radio rock band. People just don't get it. There's general disdain for successful bands, and it pisses me off.
I agree with you 100%. Like I said, I've seen that in comments towards him. The thing that I always remember is I did an album review at Black Veil Brides wearing a Slayer shirt. You don't know how much hate I got for that. Because how the hell can you be doing an album review of Black Veil Brides wearing a Slayer shirt? That's you're unholy. It's crazy. It's crazy. And speaking of Slayer, that takes me to the next point. You're playing in a Slayer tribute tomorrow.
Yeah, it's so there's I live in Los Angeles, and at the Whiskey A Go Go, world famous whiskey, every Tuesday night they have a show called Ultimate Jam Night, where a series of professional musicians get up and do an entire set list based on a theme. And I play it, maybe once every couple months. They had a Pantera night. I did that. They did, they had a night celebrating diversity and African Americans in heavy metal, and I did that. So yeah, I play there quite a bit. It's a lot of fun. It's nerve wracking because you usually don't get to practice. You kind of have to communicate with everyone beforehand. It's all right, I'm doing this, you're doing that, and then we'll run through the songs beforehand. So it's not always the easiest thing, but it's a lot of fun. It kind of keeps your chops up and keeps you sharp.
I saw that Jesse from Warbringer is going to be there. Do you know who the other guys are going to be there?
I know some special guests, Greg Christian, ex-Testament bass player, is going to be there. Steve Smythe, who also played in Testament and Nevermore and Forbidden, is actually coming down from San Francisco. Was he in San Francisco? Or was he a Seattle guy? I can't remember. But a good guy. He's coming down. I have to look at the whole list, but there's always a kind of murderer's row of great players, but it's it's fly by the seat of your pants, because sometimes you get up there without, it's hard enough to sound good as a band when you're well rehearsed, let alone you get up there and it's like, all right, you got to kind of nail it, and you're like dialing the amp and you're like, hey, I can't hear this. And you just kind of have to go with it,
Just go with the flow. But it sounds like a lot of fun though. It sounds like more of a fun thing. You guys don't take yourself that seriously in that setting, and it's just about having a good time.
I unfortunately, I don't have the muscle to not take it seriously. I don't. When I play, like I prepare a lot and I take it really seriously, because to me it's if the type of people you have to be there is people that, like, I have to be the kind of player I can just show up and nail it. That's who I am, and if I can't do that, then I'm not worthy to be on the stage. So I take it.
So let me ask you this. Are you kind of like Jordan-esque in that way? Because Jordan used to say that every time I play, there might be one person seeing me for the first time, so I got to play to the best of my ability. So do you kind of feel that way? There might be somebody there watching you for the first time?
No, it's not Jordan-esque. It's just I think it's a work pride thing. If I'm, sweeping the floor somewhere, I got to be really good at sweeping floors. If I'm, whatever. If I'm a garbage man, I got to be the best garbage man. Like, it's just the best you can be. I want to maximize my potential in anything I do, because it's about pride. It's about personal pride and saying, hey, I did something and I did it to the best of my ability. And I left and then if you do a poor job, and the reason why you did a poor job was because you didn't prepare, then it's really on you, and it shows a lack of self regard, I think. I try and engage myself with a lot of dignity in everything I approach. If I'm going to do my podcast, I'm going to take my time and get really good mics and make sure that I have good theme music and I edit it really well. I'm not just going to put out some crap because I just want to say I have a podcast. If I'm going to write an article, I'm going to slave over it for 6 days and, put 20 hours into it and reword it and edit it and get it down. It's the same thing with everything. It's just, like I said, because I'm not talented enough to cut corners.
Wow, it's really interesting hearing that, because to me, I can relate to that, because I have a kid who's a perfectionist. Like, when we sit down to do a video, the lighting has to be perfect, everything has to be perfect, and if one little thing is not perfect, he's not okay with it and he won't do it. And I think that's something important to have from an early age on, because it really will define who you become in terms of your work and the respect that you have for your own work.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, especially about the performance world, is you prepare and prepare and prepare, and you can still go out there and blow it. Like, I toured with Darkest Hour last summer. I filled in on lead guitar, and their songs are not easy to play. I had to learn a bunch of new techniques, and like, I'll go watch a band like that, and I'll be like, I can't do this. I'm not good enough, and I just have to sit down until I can kind of fake it till I make it. And there was just one guitar solo that was kicking. I swear to God, day 1, it was awful. Day 2, it was slightly less awful. Day 3, it just like, it slowly got some, passable. And they were like, oh, dude, it's fine. It's fine. But I knew it was like literally keeping me up at night, of not being able to get something and not going up there and not being able to get it to my standard, So that's the thing, is it's like I think about, like, people who do like Saturday Night Live, right? It's like, hey, motherfucker, this is live. You screw up, it's there. And so once the light's on, it says it's on air. Showtime.
Yeah, there's no taking back.
Yeah, and I kind of, but I think the discipline part of it is kind of, when you do make mistakes, is being okay with it and not beating yourself up. That's the hard part, is like kind of having that balance of having very high standards, but understand it's never going to be perfect. No one's perfect, and that's the thing, is not getting wrapped up in that and just going. That thing is to be able to turn, once it's time to perform, turn all that up and just have a good time. Because you're going to play better when you just don't think about it and you just have fun. If you're sitting up there all in your head, then that's when you actually make the mistakes. It's very counterintuitive.
And speaking of having fun and playing in front of a crowd, you guys are touring this summer. You guys actually have 2 tours booked. But the one I want to touch on is the one with Five Finger Death Punch, Breaking Benjamin, Nothing More, and you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest tours happening this summer in North America. How excited are you guys to be on that tour? I know you guys have another tour with Shinedown and Five Finger Death Punch, but that second one is pretty big.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they're the one tours in arenas, the other ones in amphitheaters, you know, and I've done Ozfest, I've done Mayhem Festival, but I was always playing the second stage. I've never, you know, and I've played a couple amphitheaters, but this is a whole new ball game, you know, and the truth is we have a hit song before we have a record out. So we don't kind of get to be the little engine that could when it comes to being an opening band. There's a lot of expectations. We have to go out there and kick ass. So it's really, you know, I'm excited just to play. Like there's so much anticipation, you know, when you sign with a big label, and they tell you, oh, your album's coming out 7 months from now, you're like deflated because you're like, you want to play tomorrow. You know, that's what I'm used to do. I'm used to like being in the van, playing clubs, and grinding it out like that. And what we did was the exact opposite. We played one show, got a record deal, and so we're not playing until it's right, which is the opposite. Most bands go and they gig and they build a following that way, and we're doing the opposite, which is you'll see us when you see us. And it's created, we think it's kind of created more mystique around the band. But some of the guys in the band travel for their other jobs. So everyone's finally back now. So we're starting rehearsing this week, and these songs are not easy to play. So we have a lot of work to do. So that's what I literally didn't get any sleep last night because that's what keeps me up at night. It's like I'm working on this part and making sure I have this piece of equipment and like, all right, what are we gonna, because I have that in me. Make it great. I want to come out there. I don't want to have a learning curve. I want day one. I want to be kicking ass. And listen, it's never going to be perfect day one, but like I said, just prepare. And then once you do all that, then you can relax because you've done the work, and then just after that, it's just refining. It's every day, just like it wasn't working. Hey, you need to work on that vocal harmony. Hey, man, you're a little ahead of the beat on this. Hey, man, the tone on that, maybe, and that's what it's about, just kind of being honest with each other and being able to be critical of the show without tearing people down.
I want to ask you, because I saw the dates for that tour and I didn't see any Canadian dates. Do you know if there's going to be any Canadian dates? And I'm going to be 100% biased here. Any Toronto dates? Because I'm in Toronto and I really want to come to the show.
I have heard there's discussions of a Canadian tour. But I'm in this band more than any other band I've ever been in. I'm very low on the information totem pole. So
You're on an individual basis?
Yeah, and so like a lot of information I'm getting when the public gets it, So and you got to keep in mind too with the band, with the single blowing up, a lot more opportunities are coming our way, and kind of some bigger doors are opening. So a lot of things past the Breaking Benjamin tour might be in flux, and there also might be bigger opportunities. And so who knows? But I think right now, I mean, we're not coming off the road anytime soon. So people keep asking, are you coming to Europe? Are you coming to Australia? Yes, we're going everywhere. We're going everywhere because the band's doing well everywhere. It's just a matter of getting there. It's just going to take time. So yeah, we'll be there, of course. It's just a matter of when.
I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really hoping I get to see you guys live. And if it's with Breaking Benjamin, Five Finger Death Punch, and Nothing More, to me, that would be even better because I'm a fan of all three.
Yeah, we're playing Buffalo. Come on down.
With the name Pedro, crossing the border these days, I don't want to end up in Mexico. You know what I mean?
The other border got to worry about. You're good. I got that good Canadian passport. You're fine.
Oh, okay. I do have that, so I think I'm okay then. I do have a Canadian. I do have a Canadian.
It's like, I'm going to go check out the show. They're like, it's good. See you on the way back.
I honestly, I actually going to Niagara Falls this week, and I'm planning on going to Buffalo. So maybe I need to figure out exactly where the club is and do the trek down with my kid.
Well, it's not. It's the Darien Lake amphitheater.
Oh,
so yeah.
One of the issues that I have with a lot of shows that come here, it's the 19 and over, because obviously my kid is 13. So and it's to be, we talked about it before in terms of the music industry and stuff. And to me, metal in general, if they don't do something in order to make more shows all ages, you're really killing the next generation.
Well, I can almost guarantee you all those shows will be all ages, because I've toured with Five Finger and they draw the whole family, So I imagine it's going to be everyone.
I got a question from a viewer. He wants to know, what kind of bands do you have on your playlist?
On my playlist, that's a good. You know what? So you know what I'll do? I'll just bring up one of my playlists. I'll just look at it right now and see what I got. I got what do I got going here? I just put Fire from the Gods. I really like those
good
guys. Light the Torch, which is Howard.
They're coming in soon.
Yeah, they have a new song called Calm Before the Storm that I really like. Stone Temple Pilots had this song called The Art of Letting Go that I really love. And then there's like 2 tracks from the the Black Panther album.
Soundtrack.
Yeah, so there's one song called Pray For Me with like The Weeknd, which was like in the movie, like during that chase scene. That's amazing. There's another song called Ops with Vince Staples. That's like amazing. Then I did like a top songs of this year. What do I got going on over here? See, guys, I got too much happening.
Talking to you just brought me to another question that I not even had on my radar, which is Black Panther. What did you think of that movie?
I loved it, and I think it's not a perfect movie. I thought the first act was a little slow and kind of stilted, but the way the film develops, and I think it's actually probably the most emotional and maybe serious Marvel film in a lot of ways. And there's a cultural impact with that film. Like I got into it actually with some people on Twitter about this, where I was saying that, people were saying, going out of the way to be like, Wakanda isn't real, and someone, made this kind of viral tweet about, when people say Wakanda isn't real, what they're doing is they're trying to steal your joy. And if people criticize that, and they're like, well, Wakanda isn't real. And I'm like, and to people that don't understand the power of mythology and how that relates to culture, and that you look at British mythology, whether that's Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, or King Arthur, or James Bond, or Harry Potter, they have something culturally they hang their hat on, and you tell broader stories about a culture through its mythology. And what the broader theme of the film is actually the connection, or further the disconnection, between Black people in America and Africa. We're disconnected, and it's aspirational mythology, right? So it's a fictional country that is the complete antithesis of what we think of Africa as, right? It's wealthy, it's healthy, they have advanced technology, but it kind of takes that and combines it with this kind of deeper tradition and sacraments and all these things. And the bad guy, Michael B. Jordan's character, Killmonger, represents the rest of the rest of the Black world that's been left behind in poverty, in war, malnourished, exploited. And the thing is, he's not really the bad guy. All the points he's making are actually, you can see it from his side and see the injustice, see why someone would go to extreme, things to kind of make that point. So it's kind of, it really did a lot of things. There's a reason why you go that. And me, like I said, I'm half Black. My mother's Black. I have a Black family. I have a white family, and there is something connective there that matters to people. It's like if you're a Mexican or Mexican American, you go see Coco. That's a film that celebrates their heritage, their culture. You can't tell me they're not going to get something out of that maybe I wouldn't. You can't tell me when a Jewish person goes to see Schindler's List or Munich that they're not going to get something out of that maybe I wouldn't, because I don't connect with it the same way. And I think a lot of people who've kind of dominated the culture have disdain for people having a unique experience that they don't get. They kind of take that as an offense. And it's really, it speaks to cultural dominance. It's like when every president looks like you, and every superhero looks like you, and every star of every show looks like you, as soon as that changes and it flips, it's like it's an affront to the dominance. And I think people are still struggling with that.
This is the best description of the movie that I've heard from anybody. I waited 5 hours in line to watch the movie with my wife and my son.
Why 5 hours? Why don't you just wait? I buy tickets in advance like me.
Because, okay, this is what happened. We wanted to go see the movie. We have a holiday here in February called Family Day. We decided last minute we were going to see the movie. So we went to the movies. There was no predetermined seat, so it was first come, first serve. So I want to get like a good seat because I want to, last row, sit back right in the middle, perfect sound, everything. Mm-hmm. So we had to wait for 5 hours in line to be in the front of the line. So yeah, that was my experience. But we did enjoy the movie, so it was worth the waiting, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at this period in time where movies like that are, just by their very existence, are political, right? It's making a political statement by saying, "Oh, we're going to have a predominantly black cast," and that's that in and of itself. So that's going to inspire a reaction. You have a female-fronted Ghostbusters film. That in and of itself is a political statement and is going to inspire a certain wrath. And that's, everything has kind of become a culture war. And I think it's unfortunate because it doesn't have to be, everything, just because one thing exists does not mean its existence is there to undermine your existence. People that,
I agree with you 100%. I'm really enjoying our conversation, but I have one last question for you. I don't want to take any more of your time. This has already gone longer than what I was hoping, but I'm really enjoying it. My last question for you is, when is the next J Day, and can I get my name on the list for the next J Day?
J Day.
Because I don't own any Jordans whatsoever, so I want to get my name on that list.
What do you mean for the Bad Wolves Jordans?
No, but like I saw that.
Did you see the Bad Wolves Jordans?
I haven't seen those.
Oh, you got to go on our Facebook and our Instagram. So I got it. Actually, I'll show them to you right now. That thought. All right. We're going to do an unboxing. So I got custom made Bad Wolves Air Jordans. You see these? So.
Holy shit!
You see there? Can you see it?
Yeah, those are badass.
This one is the same, and it's got Doc on the side.
Wow, those are badass. Because I saw the video where you surprised your band member with a pair of Jordans, was his first pair, and you guys were so excited. I absolutely loved that video. So I was like, okay, if this is going to be a thing where every couple of months you're going to surprise somebody with a pair of Jordans, I'm like, hey, I want to throw my name in the hat. I want to get my name in the hat. I don't have a pair of Jordans. I spend all my money buying my kid Jordans.
Yeah. Well, listen, we'll see how well I'm doing at some point. But no, it's me and myself, Tommy, our guitar player Chris specifically are just like, that's like our thing, It's like we're really into that, and it's something we wanted to incorporate within the band, and say, hey guys, this is how we dress. We like to look good. We're not into just being like bummy and looking like we just are begging for change. Like we care about fashion. We care about this band. We live this. Like this is how we roll. So it's we want to bring, by doing stuff like that, we're bringing everyone else into like the kind of culture of what we do, and say, this is how we roll. And that's why we want to have Bad Wolves Jordans. So our people who are fans of the band can be part of the club, and get down. So I put that out. I was like, hey, would you guys buy this? And people seem pretty excited about it, but for me, just what I did, because between the shoes and the paint job and all that stuff, I spent like $250 on those. I don't want to charge you guys $250, but if it's costing me $250, I'm going to charge even more. So we'll see. You know, hopefully Nike can come on board and they can make them for us and, you know, sell them to you guys at a decent price. But it's part of the listen. Everyone deserves a J Day, you know. So it'll do right if you care about your shoe game, you know.
Like I said, I mean, I would have probably bought a pair by now, but I'm spending all my money buying pairs for my kid because the moment they get a little scuff, he's got to go get another pair.
Well, first of all, you need to get the clean. You got to keep them clean. You got to keep your shoes fresh. You know, me, I got a whole bunch. You know, I got the scrubber, I got the solution. You know, you can't be having your shoes be dirty. You know, because that's, remember I said it before about dignity. Your dignity starts at the ground floor. You know.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate you doing this with me. Once again, the album drops May 18th. So go pick it up. If you guys are watching this, go get the album the moment it gets out or pre-order it, whatever it takes. Just get it.
Yeah, I think the pre-order is going up in a couple weeks and everyone can kind of get on that. And obviously we're going to, you know, we're going to be doing a lot of like Facebook lives and Instagram lives, connecting with people. We try and answer as many messages. We're going to be doing VIP packages on these tours so we can meet people, do meet and greets. And that's what it's all about because, listen, as much as we appreciate having a hit song on the radio, none of that means anything without making real, lasting fans. You know, our heroes are Metallica. Our heroes are bands like Iron Maiden, bands like Slipknot, that they don't have a 5-year career. They have 20, 30-year careers because they have real fans. It's not just, it's a song I heard on the radio. It's like, no, this is about long-term and connecting with people. Because listen, it actually literally like makes me choked up to think about when people go out of their way to support something that you do. You know, that's a connective experience. It's not just, I'm selling chicken, you buying the chicken. You know what I'm saying? This is, you know, the people that support the band keep us alive. That's powerful. That's powerful, you know?
Well, thank you very much. I really hope your album does well, and I think it will. And I'm sure I'll see you on the road when you guys come to Toronto.
Yes, sir. Hopefully we will lock that down because I love Canada, and I think it's I know the singles actually doing really well there as well. And you know, everyone knows Canadians are basically like the nicest people, at least in North America, probably. I don't know about, you know, where else are they nice? I don't know. It's probably just Canada. You guys are nice people and love metal, and that's the awesome thing is like, you know, just the level of support and you know, and I love it. It's like it's you guys, you know, care. I feel like in America, it's like we're trying to be too cool for school, but Canada, they're just like, yo, we love this, and we're here, and we're here to support. So can't wait to get up there.
All right, man. Take care.
You too, brother.
Thanks.